Well, today we're back to work on the twin turbo LT swap No Prep RX7 build. This thing should make around 1,500 horsepower and weigh ideally less than 2,000 pounds, right around 2,000 pounds. It's going to be a little bit of a ripper, and hopefully at least. But we are on to my favorite part. This is the part I've been looking forward to the most of this entire build. Basically, we got to fabricate the rest of the turbo kit, which is, man, this is what I live for. And then we can start tidying up everything else, but also get to fire it up again and see what it sounds like with an actual exhaust on it. We've heard it with open turbo, but to hear what the end result is going to sound like, I am so excited for that. And this is going to be a challenging one. We got some tight quarters to work in, but this is what I live for, man. This is like some of my favorite stuff to do, and I've been looking forward to this particular project for quite a while. And it's time. We got the material, we got the car, it runs. So yeah, it's just a matter of fabric gobbling. So I think we'll start on the downpipes, because that's gonna be a little tricky. We got pretty tight space to get through here, but I'm confident we can do it. Let me get my stuffs. Let's get to it. Before we get too deep into the thick of it, because I am so excited about this project. I've been looking forward to this since starting this build, doing this set of projects, so I'm eager to get into it. But before we do that, I want to talk to you about today's video sponsor, Brunt Workwear. Now, I am a big fan of Brunts, and I'm so excited about this because I just got a replacement set of my daily boots. These are a limited edition, and they just dropped them again, which I'm so excited. As soon as I saw that, I had to get a pair. Now, I don't think I'm quite ready to bench my daily set. You know, they got some wear and tear, don't get me wrong. They've been used. I wear them freaking every day, I think for about a year now. What's really impressed me the most, second most, is the sole life on these. You know, I'm a bit of a foot dragger. I can just tear my soles up really quickly with boots normally, but these have lasted super well. They still got a ton of life on them. But I say number two because the number one thing for me is the comfort. They designed these things around a ridiculously thick cushioned insole. It wasn't an afterthought. They built it into the boot. They made sure there's enough room for your feet with the cushioned insole. And it's one of those things, in my opinion, at least for me, once I tried this, I could never go back, which is why I now have a bunch of Brunts, and why I was so excited when they re-released these. So yeah, like I said, I'm gonna keep these fresh and in the box a little while longer before I second string the dailies. But that being said, if you're interested in a set of Brunts, whether it's boots or workwear or whatever the case, go to bruntworkwear.com. Use my code TaylorA10 to get $10 off your first order over $60. It's a great deal, so you can try it out firsthand. I'm very confident you'll see what I mean once you try it. So that being said, you know what they say, boots are made for working. Let's get back to it. I don't think that's actually what they say. That's not really what they say. You know what I mean. You know, in my younger days of fabricating, I would try to figure out exactly what bend I needed before cutting everything. But what I've realized over time is that sometimes you might cut a bend and it doesn't quite work out for what you were cutting it for, but then you find out that it works in some other place. So basically, I'm just cutting this 90 in about half, a little less than half. I'm using these jigs that are for 3-inch and not 3.5, but they worked good enough. Better than no jig, that's for sure. And basically, I'm going to see if this combo of a little more than a 45 and a little less than a 45 will get me where I want to go.
and it's looking like it just might. So now we need to cut out a center section, and if all this goes well, this will be probably the easiest exhaust I've ever made in my life. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, literally and figuratively. Just a couple bends, a connector, and another bend. Again, if this all works out, but holding it up doesn't necessarily guarantee that it's going to work when you go to actually put it all together.
All right, well, just a couple cuts, and this thing fits mint, so I'm just going to send it and tack it. Well, we're also about to find out if it comes out or not. Oh, yeah. Like it's nothing. Look at those bandsaw cuts. Fit up. Should have got one of those a long time ago. Alright, real moment of truth. Still gotta put the O2 bung in, but oh yeah, still fits. It freaking dialed. So simple. It's so funny. I'm so used to very difficult close quarters fabrication projects like this. You know, trying to go out the back of a car or something, like coming out the side here. I mean, it's tricky to get through this. I mean, it's tight, but it seems so easy in comparison. But yeah, so wastegate, exhaust. I mean, I'd prefer from a aesthetic standpoint to have the wastegate on top, but we're not worried about that. I mean, it should look cool though. Oh, I can't wait to hear this thing fire up again with the exhaust on it, which shouldn't take us too long based on how quick that one was. And we'll see how the other side is. It's going to be a little tighter because we'll see. It's a little bit different, basically. But either way, it shouldn't take us too long. And then, yeah, once we load them up, we can try to fire it up. Maybe we'll get the charge piping done first. We'll save our treat for after we finish all our homework. Anyway, I'm going to get back to work. Let's get this other side knocked out. Myself a little mark here for the stainless speed. Chuging through slow, but makes for a nice cut. This jig is not meant for 3.5. It's meant for up to 3. They didn't have the 3.5, 4 plus one in stock. Seems like it works enough, you know. But I definitely want to get the 4 one because the jig is so helpful. Anyway, it takes like 5 minutes to cut through this thing at this speed, but hopefully this works out as good as the last side. Gets us through and out.
As much as I don't want to admit it, I gotta be honest, I think I was a little let down by the lack of challenge on the passenger side. I'm thinking it's gonna be a whole elaborate project, and it just went together like it was, you know, I was just almost too easy. But you know, I think I might have jinxed myself on that because this driver's side's not cooperating the same. You know, the passenger side, I just cut the piece and it just happened to work out perfect. And this side, not so much the fairy tale that I was. I mean, I guess was I hoping for it? I don't know. I mean, I've been looking forward to this project. I didn't want it to be too easy, but also I want them to both fit and be symmetrical. And as much as the hot side is symmetrical, for some reason they're just a little bit different in how they route out of here. And it was more of a guesstimate on cutting the connector piece, and I guesstimated wrong, so it's a little bit too long, which is the worst. Well, I guess it being too short's the worst, but having to try to cut a small piece and cut a small piece off a small piece, not ideal. Luckily, these fixtures, while they are expensive, man, I'm so glad I got them, because this would have been really tough to get a clean cut on, but we got it eventually fit up. Just gotta tack it up. Well, I was about to just rip them off and start welding them, but yeah, you always want to check everything before you weld something. As much as I hate cutting tacks, and cutting tacks sucks, it is not a good time. It is a much better time than redoing an entire piece. So, yeah, I just wanted to set it down and make sure we weren't going to have any interference with the tires. Didn't look like it, but, you know, again, you got to check. It takes a couple minutes to check versus however much freaking time it would take to redo the whole thing. So speaking of, we got to get these holes in the exact right spot and try not to tear these things up in the process for our O2 sensor bungs. There's just something about it. You know it's got to go there, but when you make the piece, you make the downpipe, whatever it is, and it's looking all nice and snazzy and clean and simple, it's just something a little painful about having to blast a hole in it, even though you know you have to, and you know there's a reason. Luckily, these O2 sensor bungs I have, they're heat sink ones, which does kind of put the O2 sensor a little further out of the stream, but it is a heat sink. I don't know. They look cool at minimum. So whether the performance is a wash, I don't know. I haven't done the testing, but at least they make up for having to drill holes in these things. So I decided I was going to use my positioner for this. So I had this thing for a while. I bought the cheapest one I could get, and then I modded it. I put a slower RPM motor on it. I put this lathe 3-jaw chuck on it. I made this little fixture, but I just don't have the right kind of fixturing to ever get my stuff. Like, everything I make, it's just not something that's going to easily be able to be centered in this. And so it's coming towards you, and it's going away from you, and I'll be honest. I mean, it's probably a me thing, probably a skill issue, but I guess I just don't have enough time in the positioner. My welds seemingly were coming out worse than just freehanding them. So I decided, well, you know what? We might as well just freehand them at this point, and I guess it'll be a good comparison from positioner to freehand to see how this comes out. Now, I know it sounds like an excuse. I'm just saying I'm not going for perfection here. I'm going for just a solid weld. Ideally, that looks okay, but, I'm not trying my absolute hardest. And I think that's something a lot of people don't realize when they look at different people's work, and they're like, oh, well, see, this weld. But there is a difference between, doing a production run. If I was making 50 pairs of these downpipes, I would spend the time to make a jig, to go in the positioner and dial in the settings, but I'm not. I'm making one pair. But number two, it's honestly kind of hard to explain. I just basically, whenever you look at somebody's weld or fabrication, know that that's not necessarily the absolute best they can do. I'm not saying my best would be much better than this, but I'm just saying there's the 80-20 rule. I would have to spend 80% more effort in setting everything up and being set up perfect for each section of weld to get maybe 20% more result. If that, honestly, because I'm probably just capped, if I'm being honest. But the biggest thing is the fit up, and having the fixtures really helped with that. We had great fit up on this. So, rambling on, we're to my favorite and least favorite part, welding the V-bands, right? So, when you're welding the butt joints, it's kind of like trying to take a pencil and draw a straight line, There's nothing to kind of hold your weld and the puddle in place. Whereas welding the V-bands, you have that crevice, that crack that the weld is falling down into. Side note, I thought my hat was my my welding helmet. Legitimately, I just switching back and forth. All right, I'm focused. Okay, we'll call it that. We'll blame it on that. But yeah, so the V-bands are nice because you're welding down into this joint, so it flows in nice. It's really easy to make them look nice. The downside, the reason it's love-hate for me on this is it's really easy to warp the V-bands, so you can't just go all the way around. If you do, you're gonna warp it. You have to work it in sections. Weld an inch or two on one side, flip it around, inch or so, flip it around. So it makes it a little less enjoyable because you're just kind of constantly switching back and forth. If you want it to not be warped, which again, we're going for functionality here. We don't want this thing to be warped, but we got them welded. Now let's see if they still fit. All right, well, downpipes are on. I gotta say, that was significantly easier than I anticipated it being. I'm really happy. I love these
heatsink O2 sensor bungs. But yeah, nice tight. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a tight fit, tight squeeze to keep it tucked behind the fender line until the exit. You know, I'm not saying there weren't any challenges, but yeah, I guess I'm just used to working with a lot less space and larger material. But yeah, downpipes are on, and as much as I really want to fire it up right now, I'm gonna save the sweet treat for last. Not for just for you, but for myself, you know? If I do it now, then, you know, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait till I get the charge pipe done, so that way it's all hooked up. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So anyway, let's get to working on these charge pipes. May they be? I don't even know. I don't want to say that. I was gonna say I want them to be easy, but these are gonna be a little more challenging. Fortunately, these jigs I have are actually for this size tubing, so we're not jerry rigging it. You know what I mean? All right, let's get to it.
Well, when I say this size tubing, I mean the 3-inch, which is primarily what we're making this out of. But we've got to make a merge into the throttle body for both sides. We're gonna make our own. I mean, you can obviously buy them, but they're really not that hard to make. But I don't have the jig. I need to get the jig. Been talking about these things. They didn't have it in stock at the time, but I will get one, honestly, now. But I've got an idea. I don't want these to just 90 out, you know, left and right, parallel, right? I want them to angle down just a little bit, which means normally you just kind of cut the long side in half, right? And they're going to meet up and make a 4-inch circle. But we've got to cut it at an angle to be able to have them meet up and, point down just a little bit. Now, the thing I didn't think about when I decided to do this and decided to cut this first one is that the second one, there's no way to clamp it in here at the right angle because it needs to be opposite. So we're going to have to cut that one by hand. Now, luckily, my bandsaw here converts to a vertical bandsaw, sort of, at least with a little table I made. So yeah, we're going to try to have to hand cut this and see if we can get a nice clean cut. I mean, I'm keeping my fingers crossed because, again, fit up is everything, man. And especially on aluminum tubing like this, having gaps, it just makes life difficult. And fortunately, they're looking pretty good. They're looking like they meet up pretty nice. Got a nice little angle to them. Hey. So I've got 2 different torches for this machine. Actually, I have 3, but I mainly use 2. I've got one light, flexible, air-cooled torch for doing stainless, which is what we were just doing, low amperage stuff, and especially in the car, but then also a water-cooled torch for when we're doing aluminum. Even doing thin intercooler piping like this, you need a lot of amperage, and we're going to be doing a lot of continuous welding, and let me tell you, that water cooler saves my hand from burning. Not to mention it's just kind of better for the torch. That little air-cooled one can't handle the amperage that we need to run at. But yeah, I had to get them switched out. It's kind of nice. I've got a little dial now. I've got kind of the aluminum setup with the water-cooled and then the air-cooled setup. So anyway, got these things tacked. Not too bad. It's looking pretty good, honestly, for having to hand cut that one. The angles matching, not having any weird bumps and high spots that create gaps. I'm pretty happy with it. Got to weld it out and see what it looks like. Now that we've got the kind of rough cut of our merge, we need our point B, or I guess it would be point A. Yes, here we're going flow direction, but one of these things that TurboSmart came out with is these clamps that attach on and kind of create a quick seal clamp, and so you don't have to weld it on, and I'm a big fan of that kind of stuff, so that way if we ever have to replace the turbo, upgrade the turbo, we can just swap those instead of having to cut, modify, weld, especially in a pinch, when you have a failure. Now, I made this merge really long because it was just easiest to use the legs that came with them, make it full length, get it all welded up. But we need actually this to be as short as possible. So went ahead and chopped it off. It's looking good. Now we just gotta make the rest of the puzzle pieces, all the bits and odds and ends. Now, unfortunately, I underestimated how much of a nuisance the dry sump tank was going to be, how much in our way it was going to be. And as it turns out, it's very, very much in our way. It's not making my life easy. It's kind of tough to get around it. So my plan was just to have it 4-inch at the very end, but you got to keep it 4-inch a little bit longer so that we can start turning immediately. And after some cutting, some pieces, got a rough shape that I'm going to just try to send it and tack it up. Once I remember to turn the gas back on. Every time I turn it off, pretty much, if I'm still welding, doing something, I forget to turn it back on. Then I soot up my whole piece. One of those things. Part of it, I guess. Well, we got a slight dilemma with the dry sump tank being in the way. Need to shorten the throttle body some. And this right here is why I bought a cheap throttle body, so I wouldn't have any qualms with doing this. Now, I wasn't originally planning on cutting the normal silicone coupler barb off, but we need as much space as we can get realistically to clear this dry sump tank, so we got to shorten it up. I mean, the V-band clamp's gonna make that obsolete anyway once we weld it on there, so I'm just, I'll be honest, clamping this thing in here, I didn't clamp it squares, but we'll see what we can do with the grinder, and hopefully it all fits. Fortunately, with those extra bends, cutting back the throttle body, to get that little bit of extra space, it was just enough to clear the dry sump tank. So now we can start making all those other pieces to make the main charge pipes. I mean, that's all kind of all in one. The merge, this is for the charge pipes to connect A to B to C, something like that. But we need the connectors on there too. I should have done those while I was doing it, but we'll do it now. So I'm going to start with what should be the hardest side, which is the driver's side, because we got to deal with this dry sump tank situation. And, sometimes these things, they just go together. And just putting a few pieces together, it was looking good. I cut a little bit more, and then it wasn't quite looking so. We had a little bit of a gap. So I spent some time. I made a piece that fit exact, because I really wanted to minimize the weld joints. And we got it literally as dialed as I could get it. I mean, I'm pretty stoked on that. Well, let's see if we can get it off without it all falling apart. Beautiful. All right, well, that one fits in it. Oh, no, my tape. This is a little life hack here. For different tapes, get one of these tape dispensers. If it's a 3-inch roll, this is PET tape, so it's high temp
powder coating tape. This is the thinner version. There's the green that's really thick. It's good, but it doesn't adhere as well. This stuff adheres really well, but it's a little thinner, whatever. Anyway, put it in a tape dispenser, game changer. But yeah, anyway, got some everywhere. This is the process. So yeah, this one done. One done. So satisfying. It looks so sick being all polished. Yeah, this is a really good example of, I'm not really a fabricator, I'm just the guy who works on his own cars, but basically the more complicated some fabrication looks, the easier it probably is. The simpler it looks, the harder it probably is. It seems backwards, but you know, my younger days, I thought pie cuts were like the pinnacle, right? And then you'd see a simple pipe like this and think, well, that's boring, that's simple, that was easy, but it's actually a lot harder to minimize the welds. You can see they're loose. That's a good sign that they're not bound up. And yeah, I just thought that was interesting. So I was like, do I just put a piece in there? And I'm like, nah, I can't do it. I can't just weld a 1-inch piece and add another weld seam when I could cut a new piece and make it work. So, whew, all right, well, one done. We are getting there surely, but slowly, but not too slowly. Yeah, this one's either gonna be easier or harder. What a shocker. It's easier or harder. I guess it could be the same. But we don't have the tank to go around, so I've mocked up a few options, and I think I've got an idea of what it needs. Can't wait to hear what this thing sounds like, but we gotta finish our veggies. Let's get back to work.
Another thing I've learned along the way in my home gamer fabricator journey is that basically it's easier sometimes to just tack something and then worst case have to cut it apart. So because if you're trying to hold all these pieces together, it's really impossible to know if they're actually going to fit. You might think they fit, and then you go tack them, and then there's gaps. So I decided to tack the little bit over 90 in just to get that out of the way so it's it's holding in place, you know. But then yeah, I had to cut it back some more because the over 90 angle was causing weird angles to get to where we needed to go. And I'll be honest, man, I really struggled with this one. It took a lot, and finally got something.
Oh man, well, I did the exact opposite of this, and yeah, we got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weld joints. Oh gosh, yeah, this one was really tough, man. I think a lot of it has to do with the angle of the compressor outlet. It's kind of back, so then this angle gets weird, and then, yeah, all the way, it was tough, man. I tried like 20 different combinations, more than that, a lot of combinations. But anyway, they're in. They both work. It doesn't look bad. It looks pretty sick, actually. Oh, yeah, but I didn't even clean the pieces, because at that point, I'm like, I'm not even going to waste time cleaning these pieces, because it probably won't fit. Oh, it's so tough, man. So this one is so tough. It seems so simple, but I mean, I've got 1, 2, 3 bend sections, and even this was kind of tough to get just right. I had to modify this end, cheated a little bit, but oh, is this clamp? It's loose. It's just kind of tight in there. Look at that. Let me pull this off, put some more tacks on it. I mean, we need to get this welding anyway. Got a lot of welding to do. This side will be cake in comparison. This is always the satisfying part when you've been building, and then you take it all apart. So it's all together. Now we are going to go all apart. I will say in hindsight, looking at it now, I probably should have done 3.5 and then just done a 3.5 to 4. It just would have pushed all this back, which, it's always easy to find the things you should have done differently after you've done it one way versus when there's nothing there.
Just like the stainless V-bands, these aluminum V-bands, we've got to try to work our way around to avoid warping them. Pretty similar in terms of they're easy, nice to weld comparatively versus trying to draw a straight line. However, the throttle body one, as kind of expected, you get these cheap overseas parts like this, even though they look like just shiny raw aluminum, they got something on them. Something. I don't know what it is, but you see it when you're welding, because when you're welding aluminum, you're on alternating current, and therefore it bubbles a lot of stuff up to the surface to break the oxide layer. So if there's junk, that also comes up with it, and a lot of junk. But Jose came by as I was finishing this, or not finishing, but finishing. Hey, one sec. Almost done with this weld. So close. Sorry, I just wanted to finish that one before it cooled.
I was catching mid weld.
I know, I was gonna wait to start, and then I was like, oh, let me just get started, because otherwise I'll never get started, because I'm dreading some of these welds. That is one of the things, probably to me, the trickiest part with this kind of fabrication, whether it's intercooler piping, header primaries, down pipes, whatever it is that's tube-wise, is generally to kind of fit through the space, it has to be an awkward shape, and then when it's an awkward shape, it becomes kind of difficult to hold it in a way where you can weld around it. I got all these benchtop clamps that are vices that I made soft jaws for, and it helps. It works 90% of the time, but 10% of the time, you're kind of forced to just rest the thing somewhere and hope it doesn't fall on you mid-weld. And yeah, anyway, that's why I was dreading this one just a little bit, because it is kind of an awkward shape. Fortunately, the smaller charge pipes, the 3-inch charge pipes, are a lot simpler to shape-wise, so we can just clamp them in the vise, and we know they're not going to go anywhere. There's nothing worse than something's falling as you're trying to finish the weld, and you don't want to stop because you're like, I want to get through it. I'm almost there. And yeah, so I decided to do the eyesore, the eyesore pipe first, because it's one of those things. I feel like if I get the hard or more time-consuming one out of the way, then when I get to the easier one, something like that. I don't know. I guess everyone's different in that respect. But luckily, for as not amazing as the fit-up was, because I didn't spend a lot of time prepping the pieces because I tried so many combinations, it actually welded pretty decent. I mean, I didn't weld all that decent. I did okay, but the welding itself was decent. You know what I mean? The welding independently of me, it welded good, is all I'm saying. So we got it done. All right, well, it's all welded up. I just gotta put it all back together here. They're all ring back in our V-band. I was gonna be lazy and not take these out, but they will melt otherwise, especially this throttle body one, because they had to get that thing hot, real hot. Honestly, reasonably happy with how these welds came out. They're far from perfect, especially this one, because the fit-up was gross. But not bad. Kind of speed ran it, not making excuses. Just saying, I wasn't worried about it being perfect. Is that thunder or a motorcycle? Daily game we play. All right, see if it all goes back together. Well, on top of being the less appealing piece of tubing to look at, the charge pipe, it's also the more annoying one to install. Who would have figured? Who would have thought? No, it's just these clamps. You kind of end up playing a game. You got this middle sleeve before you put the outside clamp on, and it just likes to slide too far and go too far, and then you pull it back and it goes too far the other way. But we got it. That's what matters, right? All right. Well, I did forget one thing. Well, kind of two. One was omitted by choice. The other I just forgot about. So one, intake air temp sensor. We could put a bung in here on the bottom side, but there's a spot at the back of the intake, and I would prefer to use that because it'll give us a more accurate reading of our inlet air temperature. What the air temperature is in the manifold as it's getting ready to go into the cylinders. We need to retake this, which... It's obviously paramount to fuel mixture.
Number two, though, the important thing that I forgot, the blow-off valve. I did forget that. We gotta decide where we want to put that. Probably maybe like try to cope it up in the middle here. Maybe, we'll see. But it all fits back on here pretty nice. You still got movement on the clamps. I had a habit when I first started using these of building to the max of the misalignment. So then, you know, it's like everything's bound up. But it is on there. Wow. Man, I gotta say, that looks pretty freaking sweet. Very satisfying. You know, this is like my biggest gripe with putting the turbos in the back is the charge piping up to the front, but I'm happy with how it looks. Because normally I see it up top and going in, and I don't know, you know. Obviously, it shouldn't be about aesthetics, but, you know, it can be, I guess. But it's in there. Look at that, charge piping. So shiny too, which is really cool. Now we obviously are gonna have to reclock the dry sump tank for this fitting, but that's not the end of the world. But we have eaten our veggies, which means we get the sweet treat of trying to fire this, well, firing this thing up. It should fire up. And hear what it sounds like, you know, with the pipes. Give it a go. So, see what this thing sounds like. All right, well, I got everything hooked back up. I set up to add the second wideband, because set up with just one, because we only had one plugged in. We have those are widebands in, charge piping is on, TPS, IAC. I think we're ready, Freddy's. I'm a little nervous, because now I got the exhaust pointing right at me. We need some more throttle. Seems like it's louder than before. Holy shit! That thing is loud as hell. Oh, that makes it all worth it, dude. That was nuts. Golly, that thing's so loud. Wow. All right, let me, you know, do the thing. Man, those turbos spin good, don't they? All right, anyway. Yeah, it's a little too low. I don't know. I just realized we're not getting RPM. Alright, well that's a little weird. Back to chasing our tail on this cam sync situation here. Oh, that's a problem for another day. I got this clocked. Breather is lower, so we may have to revisit that at some point. Ooh, let's see this time. Oh yeah, perfect spot. Gotta love it. So I got these specialty fittings here for our vents from the valve cover. I do have to find though, I got these two check valves, which we're gonna need, and I do not know what I did with them. We'll see, Cross that bridge when we get there.
See if I can find my fittings. Oh man, I thought I was going crazy for a second there. I could not find these fittings. Oh, yeah, I cannot find these fittings that I got in these check valves. I was like, man, I just dumbly put them in another box. So basically, with the dry sump situation we got going on here, effectively, we need to keep the crankcase sealed so that way the dry sump can pull vacuum. But there will likely be a point where it could go into positive pressure. And if that happens, we need to be able to ventilate that positive pressure. Anyway, basically, these are our breather lines, just with the added dealio of having a one-way valve in them. And fortunately, these LME valve covers, first off, they're baffled, which is incredibly important. If you ever have any crankcase ventilation off the valve covers, it needs to be baffled, otherwise the oil will just splash out, and you'll think you have blow-by, and it's not blow-by, it's splashing. But also, they have a front and a rear, so we can come off the front, nice short run to the tank. Got these ORB to 90s that will thread directly into these. Make most use of the dry sump, so that way it is pulling a vacuum, but also it'd be able to breathe. Pretty much all there is to it, besides the lines. ORB 90. One-way valve. And then from here, it's just our normal lines to this dual 10 to single 12 into the tank. $200 in fittings to make this happen this way, but it'll be worth it, I think. Beautiful. Oh yeah, that's gonna be a nice little run too. Let me see what I got. I may or may not have stole this line from the Miata because I want to redo it for that car anyway. One done. I just need to check the length on this. I think I might have to cut it shorter. All right, well, that's done. That actually came out pretty decent. I'm pretty happy with that. I wish I had a 45 for either side of this. It would have made the line routing a little better, but you know, beggars can't be choosers or whatever they say. I'm running through my stockpile of leftover lines and fittings, but I'm just glad that this all worked out. There's a lot of oddball fittings, and to get it all plumbed in, one-way valves, boom, done and dusted. Got these, yeah. So, whew, man, we're getting there. Line-wise, really, to me, we need to route the, not much, I don't think, that we have to tackle next for lines. I gotta say, I'm really pretty pleased with the charge piping. Being able to run them down low, it doesn't have that look that I don't like. It's, you know, I think it looks pretty snazzy in there. And I'm pretty confident we're gonna be able to keep this thing below the hood line. So, I mean, we got a lot of stuff that is going to stick out above it, but at least this Johnny will be under the hood line. And just overall, man, I'm really, really pleased with how this turned out. You know, from the downpipes and the wastegate dumps to the charge piping, and really, I couldn't be happier. I mean, the only thing I'm sad about, really, is that it's done. And I don't get to look forward to doing it. But speaking of, we are so close. See, like, it's crazy. I'm thinking about it here, that what's left, and I mean, not much, really, to get this thing running. And this car's been on and off the back burner for so long that it almost doesn't feel right that we are as close as we are. I kind of forget that we're that close. But realistically, the biggest thing we have left is transmission converter, modding the transmission mount, drive shaft cover, drive shaft. That's pretty much it, aside from odds and ends, like cleaning up the wiring, mounting the electronics, that kind of stuff, you know, rebuilding or replacing the shocks, the struts, tidying up some lines. We don't really have much of that to do, honestly, and most of that we got done now. That's really pretty much all that's left between, well, tuning this thing, but then pushing the button, putting it on the chip, and letting go. So it's crazy. It's just crazy. And it's funny because the Miata is really getting closer by the day as well. They're kind of,
overtaking each other in finishedness, and I really don't know which one's going to be done first. I guess it's going to depend on me a little bit and which one I put the time into, but yeah, I'm just so excited, man. I'm loving it. It's like we finally got through the kind of grueling phase on both, and we're into the part where you get to make a lot of progress. So anyway, I'm having fun. I'm enjoying all these projects. I've actually got a big shop upgrade to do. There's a reason the handrail's off up there. Kind of like, one of those things has to happen. But that bus, stuff. We got stuff everywhere. Stuff that all of it is exciting to me, at least. So I'm looking forward to it. But got another one checked off the box. Got this thing a whole lot closer to being ready to hit the track. So I'm excited to weigh it soon and see if we meet our goal of sub 2,000 pounds or around 2,000 without me in it. So we'll find out, but for now, I'm out of time. I gotta wrap this up. So I just want to say thank you guys for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking the video if you did like it. I was watching a video and the guy mentioned to like it, and I realized that I should like it, but I did forget myself, so I thought I might as well tell you, just in case you forgot, up to you. But that being said, I gotta go. Sorry, talking. You're having your ears off. We don't get to talk much throughout the project because we're working. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see you guys next time for whatever in the world we get into. Okay, goodbye. Say goodbye.